Oklahoma State was fortunate enough to have some representation on the top 100 list.
But West Virginia was not, which is definitely some BS. And so we're going to project out who West Virginia could have on a top 100 list of just players. Not if this says portal players, we're just going to do players by the end of 2026.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your co-host with Cody Stovall from Locked On Oklahoma State. This is the Locked On West Virginia, Locked On Oklahoma State crossover, where we're kind of doing a little bit of a mix-up here because ESPN 4 days ago comes out with a top 100 list. I already griped about it because it was top 100 portal players. Oklahoma State was well represented on there, but I had some real problems with it, specifically with Cam Cook. You can't tell me that a guy that had 700 yards and 5 touchdowns over 2 seasons is deserving to be on there over a guy like Cam Cook, who had 1,900 yards from scrimmage last year. So there were some discrepancies on it, but I thought, you know what, to give West Virginia more of a fighting chance because we're still in a bit of a rebuild, obviously. Let's go ahead and see. We're going to mix in some of the players on the roster with the portal guys and see if we can project any guys that could land in that top 100 by year's end. And Cody, you can do the same, as well as talk about guys that are already on there, whatever you wanted to do. I'm not exactly sure. We're kind of just doing this on the fly. And then in segment 2, I thought, you know what? Who are some of the glue guys on each team? I did a segment on this last night, but it was at 11 o'clock at night. So not many people saw it. So I thought, you know what? We'll just throw that in there as a second one because, both teams have, players that are returning that if they hit, right, could really change the trajectory of your season. So, Cody, I'm going to toss it to you first. Do you have the ESPN Top 100 list up?
I have the CBS Top 100 list.
Oh, well, I didn't know they had one.
Yeah.
Okay, I based this off the ESPN Top 100 list.
Okay. Fair enough. Oklahoma State had a representation. I haven't looked at the ESPN one, but I would imagine that it's fairly comparable to CBS in regards to Drew Mestemaker being one of the top quarterbacks in the country, especially coming over from the portal. He's going to be top 3 no matter what. And then Caleb Hawkins was number 1 ranked running back, and CBS is coming in at number 23 overall. And then we did have Wyatt Young, number 67 overall in that top 100. But, it's not even necessarily about what we did have on the list. This shows more about maybe who should have been on the list or who should be on the list by the end of the season. And as far as Oklahoma State is concerned, I think whenever you look at this top 100 list, what I did was do a little bit of a comparison, right? And Oklahoma State has an individual that I think is very, very comparable with Lawayne McCoy, who did end up on this top 100 list. This previous season, he had 27 receptions for 396 yards at 14.7 yards per clip and 3 touchdowns. I think Chris Barnes, coming over from Wake Forest for Oklahoma State, is an individual that statistically should have been on this list. Last year, 39 receptions, 547 yards, 14 yards per clip. He also had 3 touchdowns. So you're comparing a guy who did make the list to a guy that wasn't on the list, even though statistically, I think Chris Barnes had a much better presentation that should have been represented in this top 100. And then additionally, I think if you're looking at some other players that are compared to Oklahoma State guys, I looked at the next linebacker, and this is going to be familiar to you, Rasheem Biles. He made the top 100 list after a pretty productive 2024 season, and I see this somewhat reminiscent to Isaiah Chisholm coming over from UCLA. This previous season, Chisholm had 84 tackles. Well, last year, Rasheem Biles at Pitt had 81 tackles, and he had 6 sacks, which is very comparable to what you're going to have in Isaiah Chisholm. Isaiah Chisholm also had 11.5 tackles for loss. So I think if you're looking at a player that's in the top 100 that could be very reminiscent of an Oklahoma State player, it's got to be Rasheem Biles for me in comparison to Isaiah Chisholm coming over from UCLA. And then lastly, I'll give you another one, brother man. I went into the bottom half of the last 15 or so in that top 100, and cornerback Jay propped up. He's transferring out from Auburn. But this previous season, he had 15 total tackles, 11 solo, 4 assisted, and 1 interception. I think if you're going to compare that to an Oklahoma State player, you got to look at LaDainian Fields, not only because he had more tackles at 16, more solo, more assisted. He had 2 interceptions, so more than Jay did. But additionally, LaDainian Fields only played the last, 5 games of the season, so he's doing that with a smaller sample size. So statistically, I took players that are in the top 100 and compared them to Oklahoma State players that are not in the top 100 that either should have maybe been like Chris Barnes or should be by the end of the season like a LaDainian Fields or an Isaiah Chisholm. Now let's flip it back to the West Virginia side of things, buddy.
So I looked up and down this CBS list, and it was the day before the ESPN list came out, and they're almost
okay.
like so ESPN obviously looked at CBS's list and was like, oh, that's a good idea.
We're missing the boat here.
So we might as well go ahead and give that a shot. So listen, I get it. I mean, as a content creator, I get it. I'm inspired by people all the time. So no shade to ESPN on that one, although I love to throw dirt on them when I can. All right. So for West Virginia, obviously you have no representation on this list, which is, to say it's BS is probably an understatement. Listen, the top 100 portal players, that's a pretty esteemed group. I get that.
100%.
Out of over 10,000 guys. All right. So I get that 100%. You're just not going to have a lot of guys on there when you have to bring in as many guys as West Virginia did. And all that. Obviously Oklahoma State had a donor come in and cover just the Mestemaker contract in and of itself, $7 million. We've gone over that on the show, on your show.
Yeah.
So West Virginia didn't have a guy like, that's 2/3 of West Virginia's entire outside NIL budget, just the Mestemaker contract. So
even with the latest additions, I know Pat McAfee added a lot of cachet. He's got some individuals that have seemingly jumped back into West Virginia. Even with all that, you guys don't have like a new Baby Boone kind of guy?
Well, we lost our billionaire donor for whatever reason. And there's just they've fallen out with him. He had that Country Roads Trust for years and with Oliver Luck built. And whenever the thing moved in-house at West Virginia to Golden Blue Enterprises, when they made the new rule in July, seems like things got cold between West Virginia and Ken Kendrick, who runs the Diamondbacks.
Gotcha.
Obviously, Ken Kendrick Family Stadium is, named after him, and he donates heavy to the baseball program, which is why it's one of the best in the nation. And they have a real chance to win potentially a World Series one day. Like, they've got that potential. So, we're excited about that. But as far as football goes, we did well. I'm not saying we didn't do well. Anytime you've got to add 30 plus guys, you're not going to be able to go out and spend $1 million on each guy, right? That's just a fact with West Virginia. We believe West Virginia had anywhere from 20 to 23 million, 24 million, somewhere in there to spend. So it's not like we were porous, but certainly, probably I think what I was been told is top 6, top 7 in the Big 12, somewhere in there, because everybody upped their game. That's just what it is. It was unfortunate for West Virginia because, number one, Kalani Sitake almost left and was able to negotiate a bigger cachet of money for himself at BYU. And same thing with Kenny Dillingham, who West Virginia was going to pull out ahead of had that not happened for him. So you've got a few teams that really was able to negotiate themselves up, maybe ahead of West Virginia by a little bit because they were going to lose their coaches. So anyway, sorry.
Well, before we get to segment 2 and talk about the glue glass stuff, you are right. Cam Cook not being in there is an egregious crime, especially compared to Muhammad, who I think cracked it like number 98. He's the last running back to be listed in the top 100. But statistically, whenever you leave somebody out that has over 1,700 yards rushing, it feels, again, like an egregious penalty. But who are some of the other Mountaineers that you thought maybe could have been on the list or will be like by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with will be. West Virginia definitely brought in some guys that could be on the list, absolutely, especially in the offensive line room. West Virginia brought in 5 offensive linemen. Every single one of them started. Two of them were first-team all-conference players. So, to be honest, I thought Amari Grayson may be able to crack this list. Devin Bass played the last 7 games at Kansas State last year, and I've talked about it multiple times. He was totally dominant, and is one of the highest paid guys on this offensive line because he was so dominant. Like, go watch the Utah tape of him. He whipped them every single, probably 70, 80 plays, whatever it was. So he's a guy. But, you know, if you're looking at the guy that could be the most, you know, riser, I got to go with Toby Hostrip, right? I mean, I think everybody's talking about him. This is a guy that runs a 10-4, 100 meters at 6'5", 245, 250 pounds, and is an elite presence off the edge. If he figures it out, he definitely could be the best. He's got David Bailey-esque talent. He does. Now,
well, and for the Oklahoma State people in here, Paul did not just misspeak. That is a massive human that can run a 10-4 100-meter. It's insane. For all of you film junkies out there, go check out that dude's film because it's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. Like, if you go watch his practice footage from his, you know, redshirt freshman year at Oregon last year, there are multiple plays where he goes up against, in practice, the starting left tackle from Oregon, and Isaiah Worlds, was 6'7", 300. I looked it up, 6'7", 350 pounds. So, you know, he made him look like nothing on a couple plays. So it is impressive. One or two last guys really quick. I'll go for West Virginia because, you know, if you're projecting out, I think you can look at either whoever starts at quarterback for West Virginia this year, whether that's Mike Hawkins Jr. or Scotty Fox. We'll say Mike Hawkins Jr. for this conversation because the upside is immense with him. Right. I had Oklahoma Hall of Famer, Oklahoma color guy, and Oklahoma, you know, just everything. And he also played for the Lions for several years, Teddy Lehman, on the show. And he said a bunch of really, really click-worthy things. You know, I was able to clip a few of these things out, and I haven't released them yet, but I plan to. But, you know, he said this. Mike Hawkins Jr. outperformed John Mateer in spring practice almost every single day that they were there. That shocked me whenever he said it live on my show multiple times. Not only did he say it, but his co-host said it, who also played for Oklahoma. And then Curtis Lofton, who played for the Saints and for the Falcons for a dozen years in the NFL, said he would win a Heisman at Oklahoma.
Shout out Kingfisher, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, you know, I just think, man, Hawkins, obviously the Oklahoma people were so high on him, and I haven't seen enough tape to know exactly everything he can do, but I'm being told by everybody coming and going, he's been trained. His dad was a pro player, and he's been trained to be that. So, you know, Hawkins is a guy that if everything comes together for him, he could be a top 20 guy on this list. Like, he really could. He's a guy that runs a 4.3, you know, so like in an offense with Rich Rod, whenever Rich Rod's offense has been, you know, elite, it's been, you've got really fast quarterbacks that you can run tempo with and break people down late in games, and all of a sudden the quarterback's got 180 yards, right? That's the way he does things. So I would say he is a guy for sure that you have to look to. And the last guy is Jaden Bray. If Jaden Bray can stay healthy,
there you go.
If Jaden Bray can stay healthy, he's got all the tools and potential in the world to do it. So we'll go to break on that note. Love to talk about the glue guys, man. The glue guys are guys that, you know, had either remained behind on the team, or maybe they're young freshmen coming in, whatever you think. The guy that maybe not be projected to start, but if he hits right, could make an impact on the team. We'll talk about him next. And of course, we're talking about our friends at Mazda. When it comes to Mazda, if you didn't know, guys, now you're going to know, because this is Mazda moving the game forward. For those who know, there's more to the score than what's on screen. Get this. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It takes that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I'm never going to quit. We put the same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. And there's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Segment 2, and I'm going to crack it due to you, Cody Stovall. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State. We haven't been able to do a show since you came back yet, I don't think. Did we do one yet? I can't remember.
We haven't done enough. How about that? That's
okay.
very fair to throw out here.
Yeah. So glad you're feeling better, and you had some good news for me earlier about a clot.
Yeah, one of the 2 remaining blood clots has dissipated on its own. So yeah, that was pretty cool, and it didn't take a ton of effort from my part. So yeah, all things are looking good on my front, and I think all things are looking good on the glue guy front for Oklahoma State specifically. We'll jump right into this. Right, I think whenever you look at some of the guys that have been here for 5 years in Stillwater, to see the different iterations of the development of the Cowboy culture and multiple different staffs now, I think you have to have some of those guys to connect the incoming portal guys and the incoming North Texas guys with how things have been done at Oklahoma State for X number of years. And to me, that's got to be Deshaun Brown and Jaleel Johnson. So both defensive ends that should be starting on the outside. I know James Williams coming over from Florida State will have a little bit of a hand in that, as will Anai White from Penn State. But I think you're talking glue guys. It has to be those 2 defensive ends that have been here for 5 years that have seen the multiple iterations of things. And I think in conjunction with that, you have to have some of that glue from North Texas. As easy as it's going to be for us to probably install the new system, not everybody's going to recognize it, right? So I think some of these North Texas players have to teach some of the Oklahoma State guys before camp starts. This is what coach is looking for. And when he says this is what he really means. And I'm thinking of Ethan Wislowski. Production's crazy. 113 tackles coming over from North Texas. What he had 9.5 tackles for loss as well to go along with 1.5 sacks. Even if he isn't a day one starter, which he probably will be with that familiarity of the system coming over. Yeah. But let's say at some point in time in the season, he gets passed up by somebody like a Carl Leon Young or a Gunnar Wilson or a Trip White even. I think that is going to be great for Oklahoma State if Wislowski is able to continue to teach. And I think that's going to be absolutely massive. I think you have to get the run game established in Stillwater this year. And we saw what can happen when you have a good run game. And Braden Nelson, 6'4", 330-pounder that blocked for Caleb Hawkins on his way to a 1,400-yard season. You have to have that at Oklahoma State. A good comparison I looked up would have been Noah McKinney. Noah McKinney leaves Oklahoma State for TCU. This last year had a 66.5 PFF grade. Well, we've got an individual coming over from North Texas that already has a higher grade at 72.3. So we're losing Noah McKinney, but I think whenever you look at it, Braden fits that mold of what we're losing, and he's bigger than Noah McKinney. That's another glue guy that I think it's important for Oklahoma State to get that running game going.
Very interesting. I really like that pick for sure because, you need the guys that know the system to be the starters in the best case scenario, right? I mean, that's just the case. I think for West Virginia, obviously the offensive line, you look there first for West Virginia and the defensive line, because you have the most returning glue guys on those in those rooms. Yes, you went out and got 5 starters, 1 from UConn, 2 from Jackson State, 1 from Wyoming, 1 from Kansas State. You went out and got those guys, and you spent $3-4 million on your offensive line. But there are guys that were starters last year that played pretty well, that had right around that 65, 66 grade you're talking about, that played on the worst offensive line in school history because of the guys they brought in last year from the portal with a different offensive line coach that turned out to be disastrous. Now Rich Rod reunites with one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time, and that's not anything crazy to say. That's just the truth. Rick Trickett, look him up. Like I said, 40-plus guys in the NFL, and has had multiple 1,800-yard rushers in his career, and continues to just build all-conference guys. So, looking past the guys in the portal for West Virginia, I think you start like I did last night with Malik Agbo, Texas transfer from last year, has a year of experience in the system now. He was 6'4", 275 coming in last year, and he was Texas' 6th offensive line for 2 straight years, playing about 100 snaps a year. He was the guy they lined up in jumbo sets with. They put him off to the side, and he would do really well as like a tight end type blocker for them. Well, at West Virginia, they turned him into a tackle, right? Last year at 275, he didn't have enough ass, as Rich Rodriguez said. So if he can put on, 40 pounds, let's say, get him to 310 or 320, he is a superb athlete. There's a reason he played tight end at Texas, so I think he's a guy that if he can hit, if he can match the physicality with the athleticism, you're talking about a potential all Big 12 guy. I really do believe that. I love him as a potential glue guy for West Virginia coming in next year. And obviously the incumbents in Livingston and Cray, you throw them into that basket, but they are absolutely probably, at least for now anyways, both front runners to be starters on the offensive line next year, but it doesn't have to happen that way. Flipping to the defensive line, West Virginia has a couple guys that I think just have to really perform well. And that is Nick Gabriel, who has started here since he was a freshman. He's now a junior. He's got to be what he's been and more this upcoming year because of what you've lost, along with Corey McIntyre Jr., who was going to start as a true freshman here as well. Right. Got hurt in back-to-back seasons, finally played a full season last year and had a really solid year. So those are two guys that you need to really come in and be glue guys for you. And then if you're talking about one or two other guys, I'll throw out really quick for West Virginia. Obviously in the linebacker room, you've got a couple guys that are returning as well. And Ben Cutter is one. Also Ashton Woods, who was a redshirt freshman last year that really played well in his first 6 games, had about 18 tackles in his first 6 games, was really athletic, ran well, comes in, he transfer in from North Carolina where he was a 4-star recruit. And I thought he was going to be a stud and ended up with about 30 or 40 tackles last year, which is what he was on pace to do if he played 12 games. And I think if he can take the next step this year, this is a guy that can come in and get you 60, 70 tackles this year, potentially even more. He's got that kind of athleticism. Ben Cutter's a senior. He's been around forever. He's not as good an athlete as Ashton Woods is, but he's an inside-the-box guy that can really pin people down inside. And so if you got him at Mike or something like that, he's a guy that I really like, except maybe in coverage he can be a little iffy is my only issue with him. And then last but not least, I can't go any further without talking about, because I just believe for whatever reason, Scotty Fox is going to have a difference on this team in some way, shape, or form. I just think he's going to, whether it's teaching the offense to, Michael Hawkins in some way and helping get him, pushing him as far as he can go and made the best man win, because I've said for months now that I'm not going to just shut the door on Scotty Fox Jr. at all. He was a true freshman that played for the worst offensive line in the history of our school and had multiple wow moments for us last year. Rich Rod talked about him having an elite arm, and he is a good runner, nowhere near the runner Hawkins is. I've had so many Sooners tell me that Hawkins is actually a thrower. And if that's the case, if Hawkins actually is a thrower, and that comes to be, like the guy that Teddy Lehman, he's the color guy for Oklahoma. I mean, that's a big name guy. He said he outperformed, Mateer as a thrower in practice multiple days in spring last year. That's in spring. I get that. But if he comes into West Virginia, he said, listen, well, the thing about him is he's going to come to West Virginia and every day you're going to say, wow, what do we have here? So, I don't want Scotty to get – if Scotty can battle him and push him, that's great. And that's the definition of a glue guy, right? To make or the opposite. Even I think Hawkins can make Scotty better. I feel really good about starting quarterback this year for us. I really do. I mean, we're going to have some bumps, learning curves because they're both young, but I feel really good about the ceiling for each.
I'm really glad you mentioned Scotty Fox because, OU fans are not super happy that Hawkins left. Most Sooner fans have said widely that, he should have started Red River. He probably should have started the game after that as well to give Mateer more time for his thumb to heal, all that fun stuff. But as I told you, I think that Caleb Hawkins is already, Michael Hawkins is already a gem, right? Mm-hmm. But Scotty Fox is that coal miner down there digging for the gems, and pressure creates diamonds. So I think that quarterback competition is going to be absolutely fantastic for you guys. Speaking of fantastic stuff, I need to yell at the fine folks out here about Indeed You Do, buddy.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading the chat. Let's go to break really quick, and we'll do that right now.
I like it.
Are you reading it?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, hiring can be extremely difficult. And it's not just about going and hiring a warm body to fill a position. You need to make sure that you're hiring the right people the right way. And Indeed is definitely the right way to go about you trying to capitalize on what is best for your business. Indeed has sponsor jobs that are going to put you in the right direction to make the best move possible, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post or into your business, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, the skills, certifications, and the location that you need. So if you're hiring, you're not just going to want to find the next warm body that can perform a function. Get the best with Indeed. You're going to want somebody with experience. You're going to want somebody that can jump in and make your business better. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through the crazy mismatches. And the sponsored jobs allow you to see your post get seen by candidates who are actually a perfect fit for the job. So here's a stat that says all of it. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all of the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That is Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. But if you're hiring, do it the right way with Indeed, because Indeed, you do need Indeed.
Indeed. All right. We are here in segment 3, so come along with me as I dedicate segment 3 to Cody Stovall once again, and just thank you, man, for coming on and doing this. So glad to hear that your health is on the up and up, and that was a scary time, and it was weird to be in that situation there for the time that I was, just because it's like, you know, the channel still did pretty good while you were gone, and yeah, you know, I know you were worried about certain things, so I'm just glad that everything worked out. So, I'm curious, man. West Virginia and Oklahoma State play basketball here in how many games is it now away?
5 games away.
Is it that many away? Wow. Seems like it would be. Yeah, it's not till my birthday. We play on my birthday.
I mean, we're in very similar situations. I think we have very comparable teams. We were talking the other day when I was watching the West Virginia game before we finally got a nice little road W in the Big 12. But it was against Utah, right? Beating Utah in basketballs, punching.
You still got to beat them, man. You still have to win,
right? That's the important position. And the game against West Virginia and Oklahoma State here in like 5-6 games is a very big deal, because Oklahoma State should win at least 3 of our next 5, which puts us in a position to be in that top 6, top 7 conversation by the end of the season. And I think that a lot of that culminates with that West Virginia dub, because that's kind of a cornerstone game for me. If Oklahoma State is, say, 4-1 coming into that West Virginia game, you beat West Virginia, you're putting yourself in a position to not only be competitive, but definitely, you know, get an NCAA invitation. So yeah, I think it's a good pivot point for both of our teams to see what it looks like after that game.
No, you guys are definitely losing one of the next 2 games.
Yeah, well, you have BYU coming to town in a couple days, but then it gets
that's
a little easier.
winnable. More winnable.
It's winnable. Then we got Arizona State coming up. That's definitely winnable. Colorado's coming up. They're pretty good, but it's winnable. You know,
TCU.
TCU. They're should
tough,
have beat TCU on the road. That was the most disappointing loss of the season. It's the worst when you're winning 95% of the game, but then you lose the game in the last minute, 40 seconds. That's what happened against TCU. You can't go 3 minutes without hitting a bucket in the Big 12. And so that TCU loss, it stings probably more than the most. So that's a get-back game. Again, a lot of Oklahoma State's upcoming games are winnable, other than obviously BYU, Kansas, right? Those are going to be some of the outliers. But we have a little bit of a break after BYU before we face those guys. I think it's after West Virginia is when we play KU. So, again, that game against West Virginia is a massive turning point, I think, in our season.
Yeah, West Virginia is in a weird place right now because we were playing so well. You know, we'd been undefeated at home. We won 4 or 5. And you know, it's just like I heard some guys say on another show, Baylor's got 2 guys that are they're listed as lottery picks right now. They're first round NBA draft picks.
Yeah.
Just because they lost 7 of their 8 Big 12 games, you go look at who they played. It was Kansas. It was all the top guy, Arizona, Kansas, BYU. Same teams we've all lost to. Like,
yeah,
the top of the Big 12 is so incredibly good this year. It's as good as it's been.
Yeah, who was that in the Locked On Squad chat that put that kind of stat up there? That the top 3 or top 4 Big 12 teams are like 35-4 against the bottom Big 12 team.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. So, you know, I'm looking at this like obviously you guys have got a chance to win the game against BYU tomorrow, but wouldn't be surprised if they won. I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they beat you. Obviously, I mean,
right?
They should win.
They should win. Yeah,
but you got a chance, and that's a huge win if you can get it. If you don't, then you're moving on to Arizona where you're going to lose. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, there's always a small chance if they have a bad night, but I think they are so far and away the best team in the country right now, and potentially the best team in the last couple of years, which is saying a lot. So, you know, they're going to be really tough to beat. They may go undefeated all year. We'll see. But, you know, obviously then you finally get to make some hay. Listen, if you break down their top 8 guys, somebody broke this down for me the other day. Their top 8 guys are all either 1 point away or 5-star players. They're
I get
94 or 95 or above.
But Iowa State should have got them. Kansas is good enough to get them. BYU has enough star power to potentially. I just think that the Big 12 is far too competitive for any team to ever go through it completely unscathed. Even Houston last year, you know, they were undefeated going into the last week of the Big 12 slate before conference games, before they hit their first loss. I think something like that will happen to Arizona. I just think the league is too good.
Well, they have a crazy stretch coming up.
Huh?
They have the hardest stretch of the season coming up. Look at this stretch for Arizona right now. This is the most difficult schedule in the country. I didn't know this was happening, but they've got – imagine having this on your schedule to end the year. They've got Kansas, Texas Tech, BYU, Houston, Baylor, Kansas, Iowa State. 7 games against top 15
One
teams.
thing will be for sure, if they win all of those, I mean,
give them the natty.
Bet the house on them making the Final Four?
Yeah. Yeah, I would already personally. I think they're just too much of a mismatch. But anyway, back to us really quick before we get out of here. You know, I really do think, you know, for West Virginia, I don't know what's happened. You know, in a season, you go through ups and downs and lulls, and you get hot, you get cold, and all you can pray for is you peak at the right time. That's what you pray for.
Yep.
And West Virginia obviously has the players as far as on offense to get hot and win against teams they shouldn't beat, like with Honor Huff and everything. But when Honor Huff goes 1 for 8, 1 for 9, like he did against Baylor, it's really hard for us to win. And Eagle staff played well in that game, obviously, and he had back-to-back 20-point games coming in. But if those 2 guys are cold, we really struggle. And we're going to play elite defense. I mean, we held Baylor to they didn't score for 7 minutes in that game against us. And
but they were shooting like 72% in the first half, though.
But I mean, look at the score, though. What did they crack 50? It was what was the final score of that game? It was 53-57 or whatever it was, and then in the last 30 seconds they scored like 5 or 6 buckets.
Gotcha.
Because we were you
guys shut them down in the second half, which is crazy because I was texting you and I said, looks like our defense and your defense has the same problem, and then your defense completely flipped the script.
Yeah. Because they were making such tough shots. Yeah. Now that's going back to the NBA player thing. Like their NBA players were actually making shots, but we weren't. And that's the thing. Like we've gotten off to a slow start in 5 straight games now.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the culmination of the season. Like, we play such hard defense that I just wonder about our offense as far as our legs goes, right? So we'll see what happens. Our defense is going to keep us in most every game except for the top of the league. But thankfully the schedule coming up for us does get a little easier. We've got Cincinnati, who we've already beat. Then we've got Texas Tech at home, which is going to be very similar to your BYU game. Then we got UCF, who is all of a sudden turned into a ranked team.
Yeah.
But then you got Utah, then you got TCU, then you got you guys, who is at least winnable on the road. I mean, it's still not going to be easy. Then you got BYU, but then you got K-State and UCF again. So it's really, I think that, in my opinion, last thing on my end is I think our season's going to hinge on the 2 UCF games. That's my final opinion on our season. I think the 2 UCF games are going to be what our season hinges on. If we can get them twice or at least split with them, I think we're going to have a chance to be okay, because we're 5-4 in the league. That's so being above 500 in the Big 12 is a good start. We should beat Cincinnati, but you just never know, man.
Yeah. The
only games I'm confident in on the way out the door are Utah, but Cincinnati will be the second most confident. And then beyond that, they're all about the same. K-State, I mean, they took us to the brink the other night at home. We won by 2 or 3. So on the road scares me against them now. On the road against any Big 12 team. A 500 Big 12 team is a good team.
I was going to say, how's he defending the home court? That's one thing that, even with some frustrations with Cowboy basketball this year, I think we've only got 2 losses in Galgaraiba. Now, obviously, the competition's about to change a little bit here, but typically, if you can win the majority of your home games, you could almost lose all of your road games and have a chance in the Big 12 to make the tournament.
Absolutely, man.
But every home game you lose means you got to go steal one on the road, and that's what sucks about this conference.
I just want to be in the tournament, Like since I've been doing this, it's hard to believe. I've been doing this for years now. Multiple years, 4 years. Since I've been doing this, we haven't been in the tournament because Bob Huggins lost his job and we're on our 4th coach in 4 years. Like no team in college basketball has been through more as far as how many times have you ever seen a team change coaches every year for 4 years? That just doesn't happen. I can't think of another time that's happened. So at the Power 4 level, maybe at the like G5 or below, because guys are always leaving.
Yeah.
At the P4 level, it's like, man, usually you at least have some stability, but good Lord.
Right. Yep. I know.
Thanks for making us your first listen, guys, and for making Locked On Oklahoma State, Locked On West Virginia your place to listen to the #1 podcast network. Over 55 million views a month coming in through Locked On. We just had a town hall show where we heard some amazing stats, and it wasn't a show. It was just like a conference meeting or whatever. Yeah. And we heard some amazing things about Locked On, guys. Locked On it's into that ESPN like CBS type level of, because nobody, excuse me, I know I'm going on and on here, but nobody else does what Locked On does on the internet. You know what I mean? Like they've got cable TV locked down. There isn't another network that has as many shows covered from NBA to NFL to college hockey to college football to hockey, Major League Baseball as Locked On does. What a crazy idea he's had and pulled off here. So, guys, make us your first listen every day, and we will see you on the next one. Also, before we go, we have to tell you about Locked On Portal, where our guy, man, he is one of the best in the business. Make sure you're checking him out, as he just absolutely crushes it, where he talks about recruiting, he talks about the portal. And then our Everydayer Club, guys. They're wanting us to push this a lot right now. If you want to have your own Discord server with us in it, you can talk to the hosts. Cody, do you know if you can talk to all the hosts, or is it just the one you sign up with?
Don't catch me BSing you, brother man. That Everydayer Club
Not sure.
happened when I was out, so I don't know a ton about it, to be 100% realistic with you. I'm
push it.
learning more about that aspect of it.
Well, if you want to join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, you get access to a members-only Discord and more, all built for our most loyal fans. I'll put a link in the chat now. But guys, they really want us to push this right now. So if you can, we're asking a favor. Go to the link in the chat here, which Cody and I both just put in there. Click on it and see what it's all about. See if it's for you. I think it's $5. It's literally nothing. So, and you get a lot of cool perks. So, we would love to see you doing that.
And if you have questions, shoot me a DM because we can figure it out together.
Absolutely. Until then, guys, thanks for making us your first listen, and we will talk to you on the next one. But until then, he wants you to fire them pistols, and I say,
that's right.
Don't forget to cue those country roads.